Support comes from Onyx Detailing in Carson, California. It's Shifted Perspective on Sociology of Cars Podcast. I'm your host, Shift, a professional test driver and Porsche Driving Instructor. My goal is to guide you on your journey as an enthusiast, making it as easy as possible. My ethos: don't ignite the problem, fuel the solution. For this week's topic, car enthusiasts versus driving enthusiasts. What does it mean to be a car enthusiast? It can be difficult to define for a multitude of reasons, but let's unravel this. On social media, we've all seen the page with rows of car pics, the owner's face on every reel talking about some random stuff, or capturing content in or around a car, but not necessarily having anything to do with the car itself. It's difficult to determine if they're an enthusiast, an admirer, photographer, trend follower, clout chaser, and so on. Does creating content make them a car enthusiast or a poser? This is where it gets interesting, because some people copy-paste trends and become popular overnight. Does this popularity make them an enthusiast? If a non-enthusiast consumes these trends, they'd probably assume that the creator was a car enthusiast, similar to how a non-enthusiast sees a GT3 RS parked in a parking lot. They'd assume that it was driven by an enthusiast. However, if the same people saw a Miata parked, they probably assume that it was driven by a lesser enthusiast. The reality is, the Miata driver is probably the biggest enthusiast ever, while the GT3 RS owner is a wealthy collector. Nowadays at a car meet, it's hard to tell the difference between the car enthusiast, a clout chaser, an NPC, and so on. You won't know who's there for the enjoyment of cars or wanting to be known. You can see how the term car enthusiast gets loosely used. What does it mean to be a driving enthusiast? Nowadays on social media, anyone that drives to and from their house, school, work, and so on, posts videos of their commute can be mistaken for a driving enthusiast. Anyone with a cool car could simply record the drive, attach a random description, and label it as driving content. For example, you've all probably seen that excited new car owner of an M4, capturing everything and anything involving it. Let's refer to this as quote-unquote junk food content. We see it everywhere, it lacks substance, yet people still gravitate towards the hype of the visual appeal. Today's driving enthusiasts keep their cars in pristine shape. They focus on performance mods mainly for the appearance of being a driver. You'll typically see big wings, racing seats, expensive wheels, big brake kits, wide body kits, and even roll cages on cars that have yet to never seen a racetrack. Playing that part makes them feel like they're a driver. You can see how the term driving enthusiast gets loosely used as well. Growing up, I saw enthusiasts pour all their time, money, and effort into perfecting their cars. It was for pure joy and satisfaction it brought them, not for anyone or anything else. They didn't need validation nor approval of their cause. They just did it. They didn't care about what others thought. They simply followed their passion. When they go to car meets, they'd meet up with their friends, excited to show their newly installed parts and talk about what's coming next. From those groups, I used to hear the phrase, quote unquote, built, not bought. I saw a similar energy in the driving enthusiasts as well. They had a strong urge to drive anything with a steering wheel. It could be their mom's minivan or a hand-me-down Econobox. It wasn't about style or looks for them, more so about exploring the limitations of that car. If they can choose between the faster highway or the longer backroads route, they would choose the spirited, longer twisty roads every time. A driver's car looks a bit different as well. It may have some rock chips, wheels, tires, and may be lowered by suspension. Very subtle in appearance, but you can tell it has signs of being driven. Drivers tend to meet at random gas stations, the base of a mountain, or maybe in the turnout somewhere along the way. Neither enthusiasts want to draw attention to themselves. Neither of them do it for the clout. How come there's such a contrast between what people idolize as an enthusiast today versus back then? When I was a kid, I idolized pro drivers on Best Motoring. Before each driving segment, they would highlight the car mods list and configuration. Afterwards, I observed how these drivers explored the limits of car dynamics on racetracks and closed courses. Most of these cars are set up by local shops and market their performance. I had to actively search for this content back then. The culture of the cars I would see are OEM plus builds. Initial D is a prime example of being a modest enthusiast. It was more about the driver, the modest cars, and healthy competition against teams running the toge. Today's younger demographic consumes a lot of junk food content on social media. Most of the quote-unquote enthusiast content is rinse and repeat of trends. Most are not passion builds or even driven cars. Lots of flashy mods for clout. At some point, self-expression was lost and was replaced by having a cool car to create content with. Most content doesn't teach anything, nor is it quality. Most of it is about a random person doing random things with their cars without much substance. It's catchy to the eye, and the younger audience eats it up. Here's the problem with clout-chasing influencers. They follow trends that can make them famous, and they'll do anything that's cool at the moment. If tomorrow cars didn't exist, they'd find another popular product to use and exploit in the same way. For a new person, this may be difficult to distinguish the difference between a real car enthusiast or a poser lacking authenticity. The information influencers share may not be accurate, and they focus on controversial topics without any means to a solution. These influencers also promote bad driving habits. They buy a new car, they speed on the streets and mountain roads, and young people watching want to go out and do the same thing. The problem is, these new drivers with no experience speed down these unfamiliar roads, no understanding of the car's dynamics, lose control, and crash. Influencers create the false image of being cool in a new car, but in reality, it creates chaos for the noobs hooning on the streets and mountain roads. This only puts a magnifying glass on the car community, making it a problem for the enthusiasts to enjoy their cars in a local cities and events. As genuine enthusiasts, it's our job to promote good behavior by not consuming mindless content, especially those that promote poor decision-making and bad behavior. Don't like and support hooning that terrorizes the streets or the back roads. Give the younger audience better options to watch enthusiasts showing their passions through their actions in constructive and genuine ways. Support those that have organized car events that don't promote aggressive acts of revving and burnouts. Support local autocross and track event hosts to help spread awareness of where it's a good place to explore car dynamics. Embrace noobs and share with them the satisfaction of gathering with other like-minded enthusiasts that enjoy cars in a constructive way. As a collective, if we all do our part, in time, we can make a difference. Shifted Perspective is produced by Sociology of Everything, supported by Onyx Detailing in Carson, California. I'm your host, Shift. Please feel free to reach out to me on social media found in the description, or email me at shift@sociologyofelverything.com. Don't ignite the problem, fuel the solution. Thank you so much for listening, and see you guys next week.